Schoolteacher Juliet Tomlin is charged with indecent assault on a 15-year-old boy, one of her pupils. Following complaints by the boy's father, the police took action when the boy left home and spent 2 nights in Miss Tomlin's house. The boy claims that they were intimate. Miss Tomlin denies it.
Similarly, my lord, and because these matters concern a boy of 15, I ask that he be referred to throughout as Master Robin A.
Why not simply Master A? Or another Christian name?
Well, the boy is known as Robin to all of the witnesses, my lord, and I think it would be easiest to use that name.
Very well.
Robin is a fairly common name, and unless his surname or the name of the school is mentioned, I think there'll be no way of identifying him.
Very well.
And for the same reasons, I make a similar application in respect of the boy's father, suggest that we would call him Mr. A.
Yes, well, clearly it's the boy's interest his father's identity be kept secret too. I make an order under the Children's Young Persons Act, 1933. Press, please note. Mr. Lotterby.
I'm obliged, my lord. I call Miss Gladys Kitely.
Gladys Joan Kitely, please.
Come this way.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your full name, please.
Gladys Joan Kitely.
And your address.
15 Sycamore Avenue, Fulchester.
And your occupation, Miss Kitely.
I'm assistant principal at the Granville Road...
Oh, I should have told you, Miss Kitely, in referring to the school and to other witnesses, His Lordship has ruled that no name will be mentioned which could identify the 15-year-old boy in this case. You are asked to refer to him as Robin A. and to his father as Mr. A.
Yes, I understand.
Now, you are assistant principal of the school at which Miss Tomlin taught and at which Robin A. was a pupil.
Yes.
Now, on the 7th of July last, did you go to see Robin's father at his home?
Yes.
And why did you go to see him?
I was deputed to go by the head and senior staff members.
And did you see Mr. A?
Yes.
And did you see Robin?
No, he wasn't there.
After you left Mr. A's, where did you go?
I drove round to see Juliet Tomlin.
At her house?
Yes, I got there about 9:30.
And what happened there?
The door was opened by Robin himself. He was very embarrassed, and so was I. I said I wanted to see Miss Tomlin, and she asked me in.
So far as you could see, was there anyone else in the house?
No, Miss Tomlin lives alone.
But did you see or hear anything whilst you were there to suggest there might be someone else in the house?
No, my lord, they were alone.
They were alone in the house?
Yes.
Did you talk to either of them?
I said something like, Juliet, do you know what you're doing? This is a child, an underage boy. Heaven knows what harm you're doing to him.
And what did she reply?
She just laughed.
Laughed?
She laughed at me. I told her the police were going to be called in. That Mr. Gilroy had told me he would...
Miss Kitely, you've been instructed to refer only to Mr. A. Members of the press must not publish that name. I instruct anyone in court not to repeat it.
I'm so sorry.
What was Miss Tomlin's reaction to hearing that Mr. A would call in the police?
She smiled again, and she just said, to the pure, Miss Kitely, all things are pure.
She didn't seem much concerned at the thought of the police.
I don't believe she thought he'd really do it. Apparently he'd been round there himself the night before, and she'd sent him packing.
She told you that?
Yes, in so many words.
What else was said, Miss Kitely?
I can't remember conversations word for word. Oh, it's not very clear. I was shocked, seeing them like that, practically living together. She was so calm about it all. She stroked his hair. While I was there in front of me, she stroked his head. They were lovers.
How long did you stay at Miss Tomlin's house that night?
Oh, about 10 minutes. I could see I was wasting my time. They were paying no attention to what I was saying.
And when you left, they were still alone in the house?
Yes.
Up until this time, Miss Kitely, what were your feelings towards Miss Tomlin? Had you any animosity towards her?
I can't say I liked her very much, no, but I'd no animosity at all.
How well did you know Robin?
Oh, he was in my maths class. Most promising pupil until all this happened. I had great hopes for him. I always thought he could have won a scholarship, and then from about the end of May and beginning of June, he just seemed to lose interest.
In what way, Miss Kitely?
Well, the difference between a keen student and an indifferent one. Homework skimped or not done at all, not concentrating in class. I just couldn't understand it until...
Yes?
Until I saw with my own eyes what all the talk was about. I saw them kissing in a classroom.
I see. And was this classroom kiss a simple peck on the cheek, or was it, what can I call it, an adult kiss?
It was adult enough. A lot of things suddenly became very clear.
Thank you, Miss Kitely.
Miss Kitely, would you say that you regarded Robin as a particularly special pupil?
Oh, academically, he was much brighter than average. As I said, he was heading for a scholarship with a very little effort and a little extra tuition.
Ah, who would have given that extra tuition?
I would.
So, he was really your star pupil, was he?
In a way, yes. I believe he has the makings of a mathematician. He would have been one if it hadn't been for...
For Miss Tomlin?
Yes.
For Miss Tomlin's encouragement of his literary talents. Did you ask Robin why he'd lost interest in your maths class?
Oh, several times, of course. I couldn't get a sensible answer out of him.
An answer you thought was sensible?
Robin is a very talented boy. It's a crying shame to waste that talent because of a silly crush on a woman old enough to know better.
Did you tell him that?
Yes, I certainly did.
And what was his reaction?
He was very silly.
What was his reaction, Miss Kitely?
He said I was jealous.
He said you were jealous. Now, could you tell us again the purpose of your visit to his father's house on July the 7th?
Well, as I said, I was deputed by the head and senior staff to go and see him.
To do what?
In the hope of preventing this, I suppose.
The public trial.
And the ordeal for Robin. It was felt we couldn't just ignore all the talk going around the school. Talk that he and Miss Tomlin were having, and his work was suffering. I didn't want to go.
So you went round to Robin's father's to try and keep the police out of the matter. Then you discovered Robin was at Miss Tomlin's house and had probably been there overnight.
Yes, Robin's father told me.
So you must at once have realised that it was a rather more serious situation than you'd thought.
Oh, yes.
What else was said between you and Mr. A that evening?
Not a great deal. I needn't have bothered.
Oh, why was that?
He became angry, abusive, said he was handling it. He told me he was going to call in the police. I begged him not to do anything so drastic, but
you thought that calling in the police was drastic, did you?
Yes, I did.
I see. And then you drove around to Juliet Tomlin's house?
Yes.
To warn her?
I suppose so.
Miss Kitely, if you believed that Robin and Miss Tomlin had spent the previous night together, alone at her house, why did you think that calling in the police was so drastic, to use your own word?
Well, it was Robin I was thinking of.
For his sake, you wanted to keep the police out of the matter?
Yes, my lord.
Oh, come now, Miss Kitely. The reason why you thought that calling in the police was so drastic was because you didn't seriously believe that Robin and Miss Tomlin were having an affair.
I was as sure as... I practically saw them.
You saw two people alone in a house together. You saw two people being mildly affectionate to one another in a classroom. I suggest to you, you jumped to the conclusion they were lovers without waiting to see if there was a perfectly innocent explanation.
What else could it be, I ask you?
Miss Tomlin, was this the first occasion you'd ever spoken to Miss Tomlin about their relationship?
No.
No, indeed. Many times you had buttonholed her and given her the benefit of your opinions, had you not?
As soon as it seemed to me she was not behaving as a teacher should with a child, yes.
You think of youths of 15 as children, do you?
Yes, I certainly do.
Children throughout their 15th year?
Children until they leave school.
Although one day more, their 16th birthday, and they are held, even in law, to be adult, old enough to marry.
Miss Lewis, what this witness thinks of the law is quite irrelevant.
Very well, my lord. And we've also heard that you'd already spoken to Master A.
Yes.
To give him the benefit of some more of your opinions.
To prevent, or to try and prevent, this tragedy.
Did any of the other teachers speak to Miss Tomlin or Robin?
I don't know.
To the best of your knowledge?
Not that I know of.
So you alone took it upon yourself to interfere?
If you want to call it interfering.
Well, nobody else seemed to feel it was necessary or indeed anything very much to be concerned with. What else should I call it?
And will you tell us, please, Inspector Lane, how these matters first came to the attention of the police?
When the gentleman referred to as Mr. A came to the station on the 8th of July last, sir.
Were you on duty?
No, sir, but the duty sergeant telephoned me at home and I returned to the station, in view of the nature of the complaint.
Miss Lewis, do you mind if we hear the nature of the complaint?
Not at all, my lord. Indeed, I should probably have asked myself if my learned friend had not.
What was the nature of the complaint?
Well, he said that his son, a minor, had been seduced by an older woman, that the boy had run away from home to go and live with the woman, and he produced letters that seemed to confirm his story.
Letters written by the woman to the boy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, well, we'll return to the subject of those letters in a moment, Inspector. Now, did you interview the woman, Miss Tomlin?
I went to her home that afternoon, sir, when she got back from the school where she was teaching.
Was the boy, Master A, present at that meeting?
He was there with her when I arrived, sir, but when he saw me, he shouted, the bastard, and ran out of the house. He didn't return while I was there.
Did you think those epithets were directed at you?
No, sir. No, I think he was referring to his father. As a matter of fact, Miss Tomlin did say, by way of explanation, I'm so sorry. He feels very badly about his father. I suppose it was his father who called you.
Did you question Miss Tomlin about the nature of her relationship?
Yes, sir, at some length. She admitted writing the letters. She also said the boy had been living there for 2 days and that she was very fond of him.
Very fond of him. Did she amplify that?
She said she thought he was a remarkable person, which no one could argue with. That she was sorry for him because he'd been having troubles with his father. And, of course, she denied that she'd ever been intimate with him.
She denied sexual intercourse?
Oh, she denied sexual activity, any kind of sexual activity at all, sir. She has denied that throughout.
You showed her the letters at that time, did you?
Yes, sir. She said they were hers, that they were written to the boy, and she insisted that I was misinterpreting them.
When did you see the boy, Robin A?
That same evening, sir. I told Miss Tomlin that I needed to interview the boy, and she said she'd pass the message on. He came to see me at the police station at about 5 o'clock that same evening. Miss Tomlin was with him.
But you saw the boy alone?
Oh, yes, I did, in the presence of Police Constable Evers.
So what did the boy say?
Well, he refused to say anything very much at first, just sat glaring at me. Could have told me to mind my own business. Then he suddenly became very friendly, and we had quite a long talk.
Did you subsequently read out what he told you to Miss Tomlin?
Yes, sir.
Oh, briefly, Inspector, will you outline your conversation with the boy as you outlined it to Miss Tomlin?
Well, as I said, sir, he was reluctant to talk at all at first. Then he suddenly seemed to change his mind, and there was no stopping him after that. He just burst out, I love her, I'll always love her. If she wanted me to jump off a cliff for her, I would.
Now, let us be clear about all of this, Inspector. These notes which you took of your interview with the boy, you later gave to Miss Tomlin.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And the boy said, I love her, I'll always love her, and if she wanted me to jump off a cliff for her, I would.
Yes, sir.
And he also told you, of course we've made love. We slept together, lovers do. It was great. It's always fantastic.
He said that, yes, sir.
Yes. And you asked some questions to make quite certain he knew what these words meant, that he knew what it is to make love.
Absolutely certain, sir. I said to him, are you sure, lad? You've really been in bed together? And he replied, are you kidding? And I'm a man, not a lad. This is the swinging 70s, isn't it? Or are you just asking to hear all the juicy details?
Yes.
I said, never mind the juicy details, lad. I just need to know one thing. And he interrupted me with, yes, she's very sexy, but she's mine, and you'd only be wasting your time. I said, the word, Robin, is penetration. Do you know that word? He laughed and said, of course I know it. I've done it.
I know it, I've done it. And you took this clearly to refer to sexual misconduct between the boy and Miss Tomlin?
Yes, sir.
What did Miss Tomlin say when you read this all out to her?
Nothing, sir.
But she didn't deny it, say it was all nonsense?
No, sir. But to be fair, she did seem rather surprised.
You mean the expression on her face was one of surprise?
Yes, my lord.
She said nothing.
Well, just at the end, as I'd finished reading it out to her, my lord, she said, poor Robin. And that was all.
Yes, I see.
Inspector, we come now to those letters which the father gave you. How many were there?
Or a round dozen, sir, but only 2 that are more than affectionate.
Yes, and Miss Tomlin has admitted writing them?
Yes, sir.
Yes. My lord, I should like the inspector to read out 2 of these letters while copies are being distributed to the jury. They will be exhibits 1 and 2.
Miss Lewis?
No objection, my lord. The
Very
only
well.
dispute I have is to the interpretation which the prosecution puts on them.
Yes, so would you read these two letters out, Inspector, so that the jury may hear them?
Oh, the first is just dated and headed Tuesday. Robin, dear Robin, I know it's wrong of me to write you again. I'm sitting ready for bed, and all I can think of is you. Being young is a wonderful gift, and all we old is, oh yes, I am, envy it. But your passion and stamina, enthusiasm and energy must not be wasted. I look at my hand as I write, and I think of your smooth flesh. Now, Robin, now is all we have. Everything we can possibly be and do is only in the now. That means not fighting, but spending as much of every now as we can on love. I hope I've shown you something of what love is. I've tried, and God knows it is as good for me as you say it is for you. Gently now, I kiss you good night. Oh, and it's signed Juliet, sir.
Yes, Inspector, and the other letter, please.
Well, again, it's dated just as Sunday. It begins, Darling Robin, what you said today has set me thinking, though I know I said I'd stop. It is not one-sided. If I've made you happy, made you a man, then I'm glad. But you've given me very much too. Let us not forget all these years between us. No, because they are what have made us each what we are. Oh, and then she quotes, sir, I write of youth, of love, and have access by these to sing of cleanly wantonness. Remember, I want you and love you every moment of every day. There, you wanted a declaration, and now you have it. I'll be your Juliet for as long as you want me. I want you now and here, and sometimes I can't understand a world which keeps us apart. I kiss your hands, Juliet.
Thank you, Inspector. Now, you put those letters to Miss Tomlin because of the clear implication of sexual misconduct between her and the boy.
Yes, I did, sir.
Yes, and it is indeed difficult to place any other interpretation on them. Thank you.
Inspector, you saw Robin on several occasions, did you not?
Yes, ma'am, 4 times in all.
And in all these interviews, and in the many things he must have said to you, did you find him to be invariably truthful?
Well, I have to say I didn't ever catch him out in any lies.
But did you ever feel that he might have been anything other than truthful?
Did I feel that he...
Feel, my lord? This is asking for the witness's opinion as to whether, as to the reliability of another person who is to be called as a witness.
Yes. I think that in cross-examination, Miss Lewis may ask whether one witness has told another a lie. I really don't think a witness can be asked to give his opinion as to whether or not another witness impressed him as being probably truthful.
Very well, my lord. Inspector, did you believe Robin to be a sensitive, over-imaginative boy, quite capable of inventing stories such as these, stories without much truth in them?
No, Miss Lewis, that won't do. It is up to you to demonstrate that the boy was making up a story. You must not ask the inspector's opinion. You may ask the inspector whether the boy told him anything which subsequently proved to be a fantasy or made up.
I had thought, my lord, that's just what I was doing. And surely it is not up to me to show that this is a story. It's for the prosecution to show the guilt of the accused, not for me to prove her innocence.
Of course, what you say is true, Miss Lewis. The Crown must prove its case. However, I repeat, you must not ask the inspector's opinion about this whole case, which is what you were doing. Now, let's get on to something else.
Very well, my lord. Now, Inspector, you saw Robin and his father together on one occasion, did you not?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
And how did they behave together? How did they seem with one another?
Well, like cat and dog, really. One couldn't speak without the other arguing.
Not a good relationship?
No, ma'am.
In fact, a very bad relationship?
Not a very good one.
So poor, in fact, that there is now pending an application by the father to have his son declared in need of the care and attention of a juvenile court.
I believe so, yes. Not surprisingly.
Despite the fact that such an order might well lead to the boy being placed in a home.
Yes, ma'am.
My lord, I don't like having to interrupt my learned friend again, but this can hardly be relevant.
My lord, my case is that the boy left home because of a lack of understanding between him and his father, not because of any plan on the part of my client, who had no alternative but to put the boy up for a couple of days.
Yes, I think you've given us the idea, Miss Lewis. Perhaps your other questions on the matter might be better put to the two people directly concerned.
As your lordship pleases. I have then no further questions.
Thank you, Inspector. You may stand down.
Thank you.
I call Mr. A.
Mr. A, please. Let me come this way, sir. Witness box is down there.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the book in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Will you write down your name and address, please? The court has agreed for you to be referred to throughout these proceedings as Mr. A for the purpose of protecting your son, Robin, from publicity and other consequences of this trial. Now, what's your occupation, Mr. A?
I was assistant manager at the branch of a bank.
You were?
Yes, I've resigned since all this business. Secrecy in court is all very well, but the whole world already knows locally I found it impossible to do my job properly.
I see you're another victim of the scandal, are you?
Yes.
I'd like you to look at these letters, Exhibits 1 and 2, please. Do you recognize these letters? Have you seen them before?
I certainly have.
How did you get hold of them?
I went to Robin's room and searched until I found them. It was after he didn't come home that night. I went out about 5, although I forbade it. He simply didn't come back. I didn't know where he was. Well, not for certain. I needed proof. I found the letters, then I knew. I went round to her house and I faced her with them.
This was what, the 7th of July last?
The 6th. I found the letters on the 6th. I didn't go to the police until the 8th.
Now, just answer this question, yes or no. Had you and Robin had discussions prior to this concerning Miss Tomlin?
Discussions? Rows?
I suspect the answer is yes, Mr. Lotterby.
Yes, my lord. 2 days elapsed between the date when you found these impassioned letters written to your son, and apparently from Miss Tomlin, and the date when you went to the police.
Yes, you don't go to the police about your son without doing a great deal of thinking. I didn't know what else to do. Miss Kitely came to see me on the 7th, so everybody knew about it. I went round to her house that night, the first night with the letters. I told her what I thought of her. Robin wouldn't see me, his father.
He was there in the house?
Oh, yes. He was upstairs. He simply wouldn't speak to me.
And so far as you could see, they were alone in the house?
Oh, completely. And she said that he was asleep, but I heard him. I asked her to please make him come home. She refused point blank. She said that I was a bad influence on him.
Did she deny she had been intimate with your son? Did you discuss the subject?
She wouldn't discuss it. It was like talking to a brick wall. I called her a Jezebel, a loose woman. I called her a lot of rude names. No, not rude. They were true. I said she was a whore. She didn't deny that either.
Nor did she deny that she had been intimate with your son.
How could she deny it? He was there. He was there with her, living with her. And I had her letters.
How could she deny it? How indeed?
The case of the Queen against Tomlin will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court.